Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go!
And let's go. It is Ballsy Uncut for this Friday, the day before the big football weekend gets going in the CFL, in Can West, and in the province of Saskatchewan with all the football finals, provincial football finals going on, right from 1A all the way up through 6A. We got the big 6A championship here at Mosaic Stadium tomorrow at 1. Should be a good day, as it's going to be the the Campbell Tartans, who beat Leboldus, up against St. Joe's. We had two head coaches on earlier this week. If you missed those interviews, you can check them out in podcast form, or on this platform. Just scroll back and you'll find them. Ballsy Uncut, Facebook, YouTube, and also on X. And by the way, go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and you'll never miss a stream. We're a little early today, like an hour early, because I am the TV voice of the Regina Pats, and we've got one of our broadcasts on Access now with myself and Matt Young and Rena Hanowski, going to be broadcasting the Pats and the Brandon Wheat Kings. Pats come in 5-1, coming off a 4-3 shootout loss on home ice to PA, whereas the Brandon Wheat Kings coming off a 5-game homestand where they got 9 of a possible 10 points. So 4 wins, a loss, and an overtime. 4 wins, no losses, and an overtime loss, I guess is how you'd coin that. We talked about a great football weekend. At 1 o'clock tomorrow in Regina, it's St. Joe's Guardians against the Campbell Tartans, 6A provincial championship. Then up the highway in Saskatoon, you got the Rams and the Huskies, and we got that covered for you today. The Hardy Cup, the battle of the bread basket, as we're calling it, and it's going to be Josh Donnelly, offensive coordinator, first out of the chute to join us from the Regina Rams. We'll also hear from former Husky Nelson Lokombo of your Saskatchewan Roughriders. He'll talk about that game and his big matchup with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the West Final. We'll hear from Canadian Football Hall of Famer Chris Walby about the Rider-Bomber game, get it from Winnipeg's perspective. He's always a great guy to listen to. And we'll talk some NFL with Andy McNamara as we get set for, I believe it's week 11. We saw it yesterday. Great game, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Cincinnati ties it, had a 21-7 lead, tied it late, went for 2, and couldn't capitalize and lost 35-34. But how about in that game? Joe Burrow's been on fire lately. He had over 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. 3 of them went to Jamar Chase, who I think's the best receiver in the NFL. People will say Justin Jefferson, and JJ's good, but I think Jamar Chase is better after the run. And so he had 264 yards receiving, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns. So, we'll talk some NFL with Andy McNamara. And before the show's done, a former Rider and Alouette. He's won 3 Grey Cups, 2 with Montreal, 1 with Saskatchewan. He is a real estate mogul in town, Roy LePage. You want to get in a real estate game with Paul Woldu, give him a call, 306-502-5355. He'll talk about CFL playoffs, and he's an assistant coach with the U of S Huskies. So we get the Ram side with Josh Donnelly on the offensive side, and we get the defensive side, defensive backs coach Paul Woldu from the U of S Huskies. So we got you covered, wall-to-wall football right here on Ballsy Uncut, early edition. Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina and in Saskatoon. Go in and tell them Ballsy sent you 10% off. Also, Super Squeeze Seltzer, Mango Lime, Passion Fruit Lime from District Brewing. Thanks to them for getting on board. Joe and Tim support local. They support me. I support them. You should support local as well. Also, AGT Foods Canada. Speaking of local, this guy always gives back to the community. Murad El Khatib, his great wife, Michelle, and Murad's brother, Omar. AGT Foods Canada. Up next, Josh Donnelly previewing the Hardy Cup. Oh, look at this, man. First-year offensive coordinator. You guys are in the Hardy Cup for the first time playing the Huskies since 2002 in that game. So I guess it's all you, right, Josh Donnelly?
Yeah, definitely. No, super, super blessed to be with the group of guys around me and the support staff we have here, and just to be under Mark and the direction that he's had for this team. It's been super cool.
So your football playing career was excellent till you ran into injuries and it didn't go the way you wanted. This would be, I guess, the next best thing to be involved in a game of this magnitude, to have your fingerprints all over it without playing, I guess.
Absolutely, and to be able to do it with a lot of guys that I played with, Jackson Somback, Alan Keene, some of those guys, to see them grow as players and then still to be a part of that with this team and representing the Horns, it's been a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, talk about that. Is it weird for you to be in this position but be a coach, and a lot of the guys you kind of grew up with are playing in this game? Is it bittersweet? Would that be a way to describe it a bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I think, a lot of the guys that I played with are gone now. There's only a couple guys left that, those 6-7 year dudes that are still around. And it's been pretty special to be hanging out with them. And because all those guys have been, through all the ups and downs that this program's been through in the last how many years, right? And, we've had a lot of tough losses, close games, tight finishes, all that sort of stuff. And to see them just continue to battle and to continue to come back to work every day and always, keeping a process-oriented mindset and trusting what Mark is doing. And, finally it's starting to pay off, and we're pretty proud of that.
And how didn't that trust from your perspective waver when you guys started 2-0 and then you just couldn't get over that hump? Like, how did you guys keep it on the rails from your perspective?
Again, I think it's a credit to all those guys. It's the leadership we have on this team this year with the older players and some of those experienced guys. I think it was a testament to what they've been through in the earlier parts of their careers. This wasn't something that they hadn't seen before. There was never anything that was really too crazy that really shot us down. Obviously, it was tough. You lose 5 straight, and spirits are down, and you guys are hanging their heads a little bit, but really, it was, let's get back to work. Let's find a way every week to get a little bit better. And if we can get better each week, eventually, if we trust it, we believe in it, like, we're going to find a way out of this mess we've dug ourselves into.
I can't remember if I asked you this last time. Are you a student are you still taking school right now?
Yeah, I'm taking my master's. Yeah.
Okay.
Do classes on the side.
So how tough is it to balance you don't get away from the classroom work. You're either in the classroom or you're in the classroom as a coach. Like that's got to be taxing mentally.
It's been a busy semester for sure. My teachers have been great. They're really lenient and allowing me to miss a class or two to make practice and meetings and all that sort of stuff. And Mark's been awesome, understanding that sometimes I have to miss a meeting here or there to make it to class or do whatever I have to do there. And balancing it has been a challenge for sure. I won't say it's been easy, but we're making it through, and I'm super grateful for the support system I have around me to make it all work.
I don't know about your marks, but you're absolutely making it through in the Hardy Cup. Before I get you to talk a little bit about a couple of the players, what about yourself? Assess your performance this year as the offensive coordinator in your first year doing it.
I keep going back to it's been a learning year for me. I know I'm not going to be perfect, and I don't try to be perfect. And it's really, can I get better from the last week? And that's kind of been my mindset every week is what can I take from this game or this practice week to learn from, to improve from, and then apply that immediately to the upcoming week.
So you're used to being a quarterback, but you can't be in the game anymore, so it can be a little bit frustrating. But talk about that last drive with 19 seconds left to win the game against the Manitoba Bisons. Did you almost jump out of I don't know if you're on the sidelines or upstairs, but did you almost jump out of the booth if you were there, or on the field if you're on the sidelines?
Yeah, I'm in the booth. I don't think so, honestly. It was exciting after the fact and once zeros hit. But I think our guys on offense do a really good job of making sure that we're not focused on anything but the current play. And we, for better or for worse, we are never out of a game, and we truly believe in that. And the game's never over till it's over. We've been on the other side of those games before where you lose in the last second on the last drive or whatever it is. So our guys do a great job of, let's not look at this like a 100-yard drive. This is just one play at a time. Let's get the next first down. Let's get the next first down. Let's chip away, and then eventually we'll spring one, or we'll, make a big play, or whatever it may be. And I think our guys do a good job trusting in that. I make a point to lead by example from the booth and kind of within the play calls. And we're not trying to get it all in one play. Let's chip away at it. let's be patient with it, and then when the defense gives us the opportunity, we'll take advantage.
Yeah, so that's good word, patience. I asked Mark this question. I'll ask you. Would I be right in describing your offense this year as opportunistic?
100%. I mean, we try to be, anyways. It's not always going to be perfect, but we, as best we can, look at it as let's take what the defense is giving us, and if we can, if the game plan is telling us to, slow it down, play with a slower tempo, really just focus on the first down or the second first down, then we're going to do that. And if we have the opportunity for big plays, then we're going to look to, kind of strike when we can.
So a coach always looks for an advantage. Usually it's a chip on the shoulder. Michael Jordan always made his own chips. Wayne Gretzky, Crosby, those kind of guys. Football, same thing. What about you? Do you use this as a rallying cry? You guys didn't have, like, all-stars were handed out, but Rams offense not really recognized. You kind of using that as a rallying cry? Hey, nobody expects us. We're not that good of an offense, I guess, but let's show them.
Yes and no. I think our focus is on ourselves, as much as those awards are great and they're super important for those guys. I think it's we recognize that those are individual awards and we're focused on the bigger picture. And Mark's done a great job of preaching that. And we recognize the guys, our guys on defense that got those awards and other guys that were finalists and things like that. But our main goal is the Hardy Cup, and that's really all we're focused on this week. And I think we've done a good job of keeping that focus.
So now assess Noah Pelchier's work for me this year. As Mark and I discussed, it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster, which you might expect because, he came in after Sieben went down, but, he's had some good moments.
Yeah, I'm super proud of Noah. I mean, it's underrated how hard it is to, you go on a 5-game losing streak and everyone, the first guy you point the finger at is the quarterback, obviously. And he knows that and he wears that like it's all his fault, or he's taking all the blame, when it obviously it's the whole room and it's everyone, and there's all the sorts of things that we have to correct and get better at. And so for him to push through that, and then within games, when we go down, there's never any waver on his part. He's doing the best he can to stay in the present moment, stay focused on doing his job each play, and then to see us getting some success because of it, and him, working through and getting through to the other side, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, that if I keep working, if I keep getting better, then, we'll be okay. And to wear it on his shoulders, he's done a really good job of that.
So it's a nice setup here because it's a rubber match this year. You won the early game. They won a tight game in Saskatoon, and you're back there again for all the marbles to go to the next round. What are you seeing from there? There's really not a lot at this point in the year, right? Or maybe there is, and if there was, you wouldn't tell me anyway. But is there a lot you can do to draw up differently? Basically, both teams, both sides of the ball, they know what the other does and doesn't do, right?
Yeah. And I think the biggest difference is I think both groups have gotten better. I think we've gotten better on offense since the last time we played them, but 100% will give them credit. They have gotten better as a defense from week 2 to week 7 to now. So we have had to get creative, and we're going to try to find different ways to attack their different, what we've seen as different weaknesses on their defense. And, it's playoff football. So we have to be ready for them to pull out something we've never seen before and do something different. And we're doing our best to prepare for that and be ready for anything.
All right. And lastly, you finish a sentence for me. If the Rams are to win on offense, they need to.
I think we got to stay on the field. I think, I'll give a lot of credit to, LeBeau, this guy, Riker Frank, and, their offense. They do a great job when they're on the field. So if we can keep those guys off the field, win the time of possession battle, win the turnover margin battle, I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay, and I'll give you a time to give me a prediction. I know you picked the Rams to win this game. That's not what I'm talking about. The other big game this weekend, Riders, Winnipeg. Who do you see playing in a week? You'll be playing somebody from down east. That's what you think, and rightfully so, after you beat the Huskies. But who do you think's playing in the Grey Cup in Vancouver? What's the matchup going to be?
Full faith in the Riders and Mueller and Mace and those guys. Big fans of theirs. So I think they've done a lot of good stuff. I will be rooting for my guys, Tanner Schmeckel and AB on the side. But I'll be Riders at heart for that one.
Okay. And what about Toronto, Montreal?
Toronto, Montreal. I think Toronto's hot right now. I think that that last game, like they put up 58 points or something in a playoff game. That's pretty crazy. So I think if they keep that rolling, they'll be tough to stop.
Well, congratulations on a memorable season here, and hopefully another memory in the positive column here coming up after Saturday. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Ballsy. Appreciate it.
Well, I hope you don't mind me calling this. Here's my buddy, Nelson Lokombo. It's great to see you again, buddy.
Good seeing you too, man.
Hey, so let's talk first about amateur football and your old school, the University of Saskatchewan Huskies taking on the Rams in the Hardy Cup, a.k.a. the Battle of the Breadbasket, they're calling it. Just your thoughts.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I think both teams have a good squad. They've both been through some adversity earlier in the year, so it's going to be a good little matchup. I got a couple folks on the team that I played with. Shout out to my nephew Ursi. He's playing on the team, so obviously I'm pulling for Sask to win, and got a couple side bets going on the side with a couple of Rams. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So who picked in one of them?
No, Jackson and Jordan. I gotta talk to Pick though. I gotta talk to Pick.
Yeah, you're kind of, well, are you not really outnumbered because Zer's on the team, like he's on the team, and Weeb's on the team, right? So you're pretty even up that way. Yeah. Hey, Nelson, your favorite college memory, is there one that you like? If you could go back to your college days, which isn't that far away, it's not like you're an old timer. If you could play another game for the Huskies, what game would that be?
Probably be the 2018 Hardy Cup that we won. It was just a great feeling. We were underdogs, and we came into that game against Calgary, I think they were undefeated at the time, and it was just a good game all around, defensively, offensively, and it was just fun to be out there.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine what it's going to be like. That is the true college atmosphere, isn't it, over at Griffith Stadium there?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's gonna be a good time, I think, for those guys, and having the Hardy Cup at home. It's gonna be great memories.
Yeah. Hey Nelson, does it seem like just yesterday you were there for training camp with the Riders at the start of the year, or have you definitely felt the journey to this point?
Yeah, no, it's crazy how fast the year goes by. Like, I can remember coming into camp. Remember when I left BC to come to camp. It's crazy how we've come to this point in the season, and I'm just happy that we're still playing. Okay,
so I'm asking you this question. You answer it however you want. Okay.
Yeah.
At the start, and I don't duck things here. I've never have. So I've said, Nelson Lokombo doesn't look real comfortable at safety. That's what I said earlier in the season. Were you on? I know you played a little bit last year, but let's be honest, you've had some injuries up until this year, and this is really your first full season. Did you feel a little uncomfortable at the start of the year, or maybe another way to put it was the game moving a little too fast, and now it's kind of slowed down for you at that position?
Yeah, I wouldn't say uncomfortable. I'd say for me, it was just getting the reps. Just seeing everything playing out as a safety. I never played there. I played last year, but it's a new system this year. So I think that was just the biggest thing, and just getting used to communicating and making sure everybody's on the same page. But throughout the year, I've gotten a lot of reps. So I've gotten used to it, and I think we've been a pretty good unit on the back end. So I'm really happy with how we've been playing.
So talk about, how does it feel to get your first career interception in a home playoff game? That's cool.
Man, it's a great feeling, man, especially because it happened at a crucial moment in the game, to end that drive for the Lions. But me personally, I feel like I should have had my first pick a while ago. But just got to keep it going, and opportunities will come, and I'm sure I'll get my hands on the ball again.
So the two position groups that are the most unnatural to play are offensive linemen, because your back is to the football, okay?
Yeah.
Your back is to the football, and then the other one is defensive back, because you got to do everything in reverse. So that I don't know if people really understand that. And I agree with you. I agree with you. Like, I think you should have had about 3 or 4 interceptions this year, probably. How do you keep the mental side on track? Because it is a mental game, man. Like, you can get frustrated because we know you're talented. We know what you can do. I've seen it at the college level. It's just, and it's not like you're not talented when you drop a ball, but how do you keep the mental track, the train on the track, so to speak?
That's part of the game, man. Like, as a DB especially, you're going to have plays where you're going to want back. You just kind of have to flush that right after the play. And you got to understand that there's tons of football left in the game, or whatever the situation may be. You're going to have opportunities in the future. So, it's just part of the mental side of the game. Like, if you're not mentally tough, then you're going to have some issues.
So you and I talked in Vancouver last year, and I said, hey, you're going to be a free agent. Would you think about maybe going to play with your brother in BC? And you're like, no, man, I like Saskatchewan, which I was a little bit surprised with. I know you played college here, but I thought, okay, maybe he'll jump at the chance to play with his bro. What makes Saskatchewan so enticing to you? A guy from, out west, really out west, and to come here and be entrenched in the prairies now?
Yeah, I really like just the community and just the fan base that the Rider Nation is. I love being part of it. Obviously, the coaches are great, and it's my second home. I've been here a long time, so I'm used to the prairies and being out here. So yeah, man, it's just it's. I bleed green at this point. That's just me. So
I remember from our time together last couple of years, you were always one of the first guys on the bus, on the early bus, and you'd have the roller, the thing to roll out. And so it's like you take care of your body, but I mean, sometimes it's just you can't help it. You get injuries, right? And the Achilles, whatever. But have you done anything different, Nelson, to stay healthy for all these games? Or is it just something where you're getting the breaks this year health-wise?
No, I don't think it's anything too different. Maybe just a little more mobility stuff, and there's stuff that I still do from when I hurt my Achilles, and just maintenance stuff that I've been doing. But I think just being able to play the whole season this year, for me that was the biggest goal, and I'm happy that I was able to just maintain my health this year. But nothing really too different than what I was doing last year. Maybe, just, I eat clean. I make sure I take care of my body. I stretch every day. Just normal things that, athletes do. Make sure I'm hydrated every day. So nothing too different.
Awesome. Okay, let's quickly talk about the game, then I'll let you go, and I appreciate your time. So first, a shout-out to Rider Nation. It wasn't a sold-out game, but they sounded sold out. Talk about how much the 13th man helped you and how that might help you, get ready for what you're going to face again here against Winnipeg.
Yeah, Rider Nation showed out against BC, and, man, it was just great atmosphere to be out there on the field and having that support from the fan base. They definitely helped us out in that game. I'm sure when we go up to Winnipeg, their fan base is going to be just as pumped. So I'm excited for the opportunity to be out there and just to play football. So
do you after what you went through and everything like that with the Achilles and everything like that, now you get an opportunity to be the primetime safety for a chance to go to the Grey Cup? I'm just a normal guy. You're an excellent athlete. Are you going to savor it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, are you going to take it all in? Will you have time to take it all in? Because these things don't come around very often, as you know.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a great, accomplishment to get to this point. And, at the end of the day, it's another football game that we got to win. So I'm sure afterwards I'll be able to soak everything in. But right now it's just focus and getting ready for the game. So,
So if you're to put on the Western Division champion hat, I think they hand those out. If you're to put that on against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and going against that receiving core, what do you see from the likes of Lawler, Dembski, Wilson, those kind of guys?
Yeah, all those guys are experienced in the league. They've been able to have games like this consistently over the past couple of years. So, they're going to be. I'm sure they're going to put up their best effort. So, I'm excited for the opportunity to go up against that.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for giving me some of your time. Continued success, both health-wise and on the field. Hey, you got one. I've used this analogy a few times. I stole it from Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers. You know, your interceptions are kind of like an olive jar, right? You tip the olive jar over. If it's packed really tight, nothing comes out. But then you pull one out, and then all of a sudden 2 come out, 3 come out, 4 come out. So maybe Nelson Lokombo can get on a roll here and get a couple INTs.
Yeah, man, that's the goal.
Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ballsy.
Here with a Hall of Famer, Chris Walby. Now, Chris, you and I get along, okay? We're friends. At least I think we're friends. I consider you a friend, okay? But let's be honest. This Riders Bombers rivalry, it's how do I put this? Like, we hate each other. Like, for the most part, we hate each other. Winnipeg doesn't like Regina. Regina doesn't like Winnipeg. It's polite, but we don't like each other. It rivals the Battle of Alberta in terms of, and maybe Toronto and Montreal and hockey in terms of greatest sports rivalries in Canada, for sure.
Yeah, I like it, Michael. I tell you what, right now, I think it's the best rivalry. If you could go back to the beginning of the year and said, I'd like to have 2 teams meet in the West Final, it's got to be the Prairie Boys. I mean, I love the fact it's Saskatchewan. I love the fact it's Winnipeg. You know what? We lucked out with the hand of God and the big wind to kick that field goal in the wind, with the wind, a 50-something yarder by Sergio to get to the West Final. But Saskatchewan's been playing well, man. I tell you, I talked to a lot of people. I said, you know, you look at that Trevor Harris cat. I went back and looked at his red zone, and he's got 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. Really efficient with that football. He's throwing the ball well. To me, it's a great game. It's a great rivalry. And I'm excited. I really am excited. I think the fans here and the fans watching on television are in for a real treat. Both games. But I really believe this one is going to blow it's going to blow the stats up.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters which Grey Cup matchup we get, because there'll be intriguing storylines. These are 4 really good teams. Let's start with the big boys, because I really miss you doing games, because we don't have big boys doing color commentary anymore, even in the United States. So I'm going to ask you this, okay? Let's start with Stanley Bryant. Let's talk about how great Stanley Bryant is at his age, because when I look at a Stanley Bryant, or even Joe Thomas in Cleveland, where he played 10,000 straight snaps, think about the longevity of dudes like that.
Listen, I think Stanley, and I know that Coach O'Shea called him the best ever, and I believe that too. Listen, I tip my hat to the man. He got nominated for his 8th CFL award, and he's a Bomber nominee for O-line. I mean, he's just, he's a picture of consistency. He stays healthy, especially when you're at that tackle position. You got guys rolling all around your legs, running backs running back into your leg. But he's been there, and he just keeps producing. Very rarely does he get beat. He's just one of these special guys. I know he's a huge addition to that offensive line. I know he missed a couple games with a little bit of a sickness earlier on this year. But, yeah, if I look at Stanley, I look at somebody who first ballot Hall of Famer. And if you ever talk to the guy, he's so bloody humble.
Yeah,
he's got that great gravelly voice, like he should be doing Motown records. Is what he should be doing, man. He's got that voice, I just don't care. Yeah, whatever, man. He's got 25 playoff games under his belt, and he's the glue. As much as Zach's the glue on the offense, Stanley's the glue on that old lineman, man. He don't get wound up or anything.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what he says in the huddle. Probably wouldn't understand him, because he'd be talking that Motown thing, let's kill him, But anyway. I will say this: number 1 in my books, and the glue that makes that O-line work.
Well, let's talk about a Regina kid, though, who he's very happy that he went to Winnipeg and won those championships and could go to his 5th straight Grey Cup. But let's be honest, Patrick Neufeld, in talking to him and people that know him, he's still a little bent out of shape that he got traded away from the 2013 Grey Cup team for Alex Hall and such. And so he's always got that little chip on his shoulder. He's another guy that's been a mainstay there for a long time.
You know what I really like about Patty is that he finally got the recognition he was due. I know when he came from Winnipeg, he was having, he had injury problems in the first couple of years here. And then he blossomed to something we all know he was going to be. I mean, Saskatchewan's loss was Winnipeg's gain. I mean, Patty is a very solid football player. And when you got a guy in that interior of the line, and you know what it's like, you got to take care of these big hulking defensive tackles. They're going on every which way but loose. And you got to find a way to block these guys. Patty's smart. He could probably play center. But I like the fact that what he's doing right now. He's going to have a battle, though, boys. I'm telling you right now. I think I saw that Miles Brown's playing again. Do you think he's going to get – I hope they introduce the defense. I hope they introduce him. Because it's going to be nuts as soon as they introduce that man.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? And back to – and now that you brought that up, I thought that – listen – he's hit, in my opinion, his hit on Strebler was above the knee, and then gravity brings him down. And I think that was, listen, I never like to see a man get hurt because he keeps families, but that was much ado about nothing. I don't think he's public enemy number. The one on Labor Day was dirty, but this one was not dirty to the point that I raised money to pay off his fine.
Well, good for you. And I'll tell you one thing. I think he was kind of put in that list after he rolled on Drew Brown. Yeah. The Red Blacks. And I mean, that was one where he was just pushed into him. Mm-hmm. But the one against, listen, I like Chris Gilbert. He's a heck of a football player. I think the Bombers, if they have a weakness, they're going to miss him on short yardage. I don't know why they don't take that other guy that was, I think, in Saskatchewan, Jake Delega or whatever. Yeah. Put him in that short, but he's a big, tall stalk of corn. Maybe he can't get down low enough. But you know what? I watched the hit too as well, buddy, and I saw the shoulder pads come underneath the knee. The knee was throwing. He's in a throwing motion. It's planted, so there's nowhere to go. Yeah. Was he upset? Absolutely. Did people get upset? Absolutely. Was it fine warranted? I think that his history created the fine. Yeah. I don't know if we talked about it, me and Darren Bombing on Bonfire, and we said, you know what? We both had kind of different opinions. We watched that play over and over and over. And you got to look at this, and I've said this in the NFL too. How do you get a big man who gets momentum and he's going after the quarterback and now you're telling him to roll away, don't try and put everything on you, and stop. And you can't. You've got guys that are 300 pounds coming at you like a freight train. And you know what? If they were ballet guys, they could tiptoe around there and, flip the skirt and get out of there. But no. Mm-hmm. Not going to happen, brother.
I think the offensive lineman of the year, and if he doesn't get it, it's criminal, is Logan Ferlin. Yes. Now, listen, the Riders got here because of their defense and their takeaway giveaway. But if Logan Ferlin isn't the player that he is, playing center, left tackle, right guard, and right tackle. The only thing he hasn't played this year is left guard, and he played that last year and the year before that. Like, he's been all over the map. And it was accentuated in the West semifinal when, as you talked about, Trevor Reed gets rolled up from behind. Riders have to flip everything, and they don't miss a beat. And they don't miss a beat because of Logan Ferlin.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, man. I looked at it. He's going against the guy out of Toronto. I think he'll win. I think the fact that he's so versatile, and not only that, as you say, Mike, the fact is he's played exceptionally well at every position he has to go. A lot of guys, when you're going from left to right, it's a different body type, different hand going down. He's managed to do this and do it well, and I kudos to the guy. I know there's some guys bitching here. I saw today in the news that because Saskatchewan had more all-stars or all Canadians than the Bombers, and they were, only they're 10-8. But listen. Going back to Logan, I wish the guy the best. I think if I had a vote, it would definitely go for him too. Yeah. I just think he's played that well. And you know what? It's funny when you talk about your O-line. They're really going to have to jack it up a little bit. And I look back, I didn't realize that A.J. Ouellette did not play against the Bombers.
No.
3 meetings, did not play, unless he didn't get a stat, because I looked for stats, nothing. No. And in the beginning of the year, I was actually one of the guys going, oh, boy, man, they spent a lot of money on this guy. Are we getting our buck's worth? And I saw last week what he can do.
Well, it was the G. Roy Simon effect. G. Roy Simon did nothing really here in 2013 when the Riders picked him up, and then in the playoffs he got his only 2 ever Grey Cup touchdowns and really kept that team together when they went through a bit of a spell. I think that's what they paid him for. They paid him for November, so we'll see if he can carry that.
And you know what? And he runs like a tank. He's a horse. And then of course, what I thought was really good is listening to Trevor Harris talk about the thing that nobody talks about, which is his blocking.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have to do it. You know, the Bombers, they've got to bring some pressure on Trevor. You can't let Trevor sit back there. The way he's throwing the football right now with such accuracy, he's so pre-snap reading very well. They know they got to battle. But as you say, they got to run that ball. And, if they can get A.J. Ouellette in there and mix it up a little bit. If you break it down, it's just crazy, Michael. You know, all the different components of both sides of the ball. The Bombers, #1 defense. The Saskatchewan, #1 against the run. And I went back and looked. Brady most rushing in all 3 games, 49 yards.
I know.
And so everybody goes, what the hell? And then I look, but the last 2 playoff games, I don't know who was against, he had 100 plus. Brady.
The other thing he's good at, Chris, it's one thing about the rushing. That's right. But if I remember correctly, I don't have the stats in front of me, that Banjo Bowl, he was instrumental out of the backfield. So that's another element of his game, catching out of the backfield, right?
If you know what, you hit it on the head, brother. That's what he is. He's a checkoff. You know, he catches a lot of balls because if you look at it and you listen to what Zach Collaros is talking about, he says, they're so quick. Those linebackers get such great depth quickly. Take away the deep throw. But that checkoff, when he just throws it down now and he gives it to, Brady, and Brady crunches up another 10 yards. I think he's #3 in the CFL for yards after catch or yak yards.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. That's a great point. But I think it really is going to be how we take – if the Bombers have to be – listen, Bombers have to get Brady involved one way or the other.
Yeah.
If he is taken out of the game, I think Saskatchewan's got a great shot.
Well, and I think this is where it comes down to. We talked about the O-lines, and I think that is the key. Can the Bombers get that running game going, and can the Riders get that running game going? Because if they can, it's a perfect formula for Trevor Harris. 250 yards passing a game, 150 yards rushing, and you turn the ball over. Here's what I said all week, though. The Riders will probably get a couple of turnovers. They were This is the
I know, they're crazy.
This is the one stat nobody really talks about. They were plus 26, like far and away the best, but they didn't finish in first place, Chris. They barely got second place. So that tells you they weren't cashing in turnovers for touchdowns. And if you're in Winnipeg, they have to score touchdowns when Zach Collaros serves one up, and I think he'll serve a couple up.
Well, the thing is, he's got to, and if I'm Saskatchewan, I got to get on the board early.
Yep.
I got to try and take that crowd out. Because the crowd noise, and it's sold out. I mean, people are trying to get tickets. I don't know how many. I've seen so many texts and Facebook messages from Saskatchewan people saying, hey, can I get tickets? Can I get tickets? Because this is basically the game that everybody's looking forward to. It's exciting, man. I'm jacked about this. We talk about the defense. We talk about, the offense. Then you look at the kickers, both good kickers, Lothar and Sergio. Man, I went and looked 3 games. Lothar 8 of 9, Sergio 9 of 10, all couple over 50-yarders. So I mean, they can boot the ball, and the weather is going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, you know what?
It's supposed to be beautiful.
You know what, Big 63? I think this is the Grey Cup game right here. I believe whoever wins this game wins the Grey Cup. That's what I believe.
Well, you know what? I won't disagree with you on a point, but I tell you, when I look over on the other side of the East and I watch that Toronto defense.
Yeah.
And that defensive line they have, it's freaky. They're so freaky good.
Yeah, they are.
I watched them beat up our O-line. That was the one game that the Bomber O-line really had struggles. They got sacked 7 times. I mean, but they put pressure on him. They didn't allow Zach to get comfortable. And if you let Zach get comfortable, he's 5-0. I don't think he's lost the West Final.
Well, the Riders haven't won there in 8 games.
Yeah, 8 games.
I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, but I'm going to ask you first. But here's the thing. Winnipeg has the true home field advantage in the CFL. The only real true home field advantage. The Riders, not close to a sellout last week, although the fans that went there were in full throat. But the Bombers, their stadium is built like an NFL stadium. It's up and down. It's got the tin roof. Everything stays inside. And the Bombers are like the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFL. They're the version here in the CFL. They get all the calls. They know how to, but they know how to. But you know what? Great guys get calls. Gretzky got calls. McDavid gets calls. Jordan gets calls. That's not meant to be disrespectful. They get the calls. They find a way to win all the tight big games. So the Riders have to
They're
get
never out of it. They're never out of it. And I agree with you. Now you got to be lucky to be good to be lucky. And I agree with you on that point. It's not as bad as outrageous as some of the crap that's been going on in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
I watched a game where a quarterback got Minnesota's quarterback got face mask, didn't call it. Then last week, a horrible interference call, not called in the end zone.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't blame them. I think the CFL, the refs are doing as good a job as possible right now.
Yeah.
They're only human.
Yep.
And I don't want the command center taking over every bloody call because that's just bullshit too. Excuse my language.
No, absolutely.
I like it, but I agree with you.
What I mean about the Bombers, and I've talked to other coaches about this. Mike O'Shea is a master of working the officials both on the field and behind the scenes, and even your president. He goes on and works it in front of the camera, and it works for the Bombers.
Cool. And I don't understand it, but I know that Wade Miller has all the officials over for beer and meat before the game. So I'm not saying that's influencing it there, Michael, but man, I'm telling you right now, I see these guys loading carcasses, deer meat in the back of their truck before the game. So who knows?
Walby, I love you. So how do you see this one shaking down?
I'm shaking. Oh boy, my gut and my heart obviously is blue. I'm scared though, because I think the way Saskatchewan's playing and their defense is playing, and Roland Milligan and the back DBs they got there, but the noise and the 13th man that were taken from Saskatchewan where they got that. Oh man, can they live with the? Did the Saskatchewan Roughriders make a mistake or two? Because it's going to come down to turnovers. Mm-hmm. And you just mentioned Saskatchewan's number one in taking the ball away, and if they do that, they got a great shot. Yeah. But boy, I tell you, I don't even know. Listen, I could flip a coin right now. All I know is this: I will be glued to that game. Yeah. I was supposed to go to the game, but then I got that old phone call from the grandkids. Big Papa, we haven't gone to a game this year. So, oh Jesus, here you go, take the tickets.
Yeah.
So I'll be sitting in front of the tube with Stan Mikolas and a few other boys, and we'll be watching the game with definitely Bomber gear on.
I don't have a rooting interest in this one. I really don't. I hung my
Come on.
No, I don't. We're not getting into that, but I hung my Rider jersey and I knew you'd have your Walby jersey. But I really believe this.
Yeah.
Riders by 10.
Wow, what a prediction.
Yeah, Riders by 10. I think I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are an elite organization, and they have shown it. Think about this for a second. If the Bombers go to the Grey Cup, it's their 5th Grey Cup in a row. Yeah. The Riders have been to 5 in the last 27 years. So, and at some point, the worm's got to turn. And I think the worm turns on Saturday, and I think it turns in a big way. I don't think the Riders I think the Riders win by 10.
I want to give you one little stat that I found very interesting. That the last team that finished second to win a Grey Cup was Saskatchewan in 2013.
There you go.
So, you know what? There's things you look at and you go, man, those stats look good there. The turnovers look good there. I don't know. I mean, I look at our receivers. I think our receivers are just Kenny Lawler is a freak.
He's a freak.
He catches everything. And then you got Nick Dembski. Dembski is the Rider killer. Yeah, every game, somehow he gets loose for a big touchdown.
Well, you know why that is? Because I've had him on the show. He was pissed off they never used him correctly when he was here. We drafted the guy. So he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And then this Ontario Wilson kid, I mean, you got to tip your hat. Listen, I'm not saying that because I tip my hat to greatness. You hate teams like Kansas City, New England, Winnipeg because they're good. And I don't know, like, to me, here's why I say this. In sports, in any other sport like hockey, basketball, baseball, I don't think momentum in the playoffs is transferable to say game 1, game 2. But because this is a one-shot deal, and the teams in the semifinals, they got the momentum. They're rolling. I think it's Riders and Toronto in the Grey Cup. That's what I think.
Wow. Good. That's a great call. And I tell you what we're going to do, though, Michael.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little hit next. I want you to call me next week.
I will.
And let's do a little hit, and we'll talk about the game, how it went, and if your prediction's right, or if my prediction, which I'm not going to say because I want the Bombers obviously to win.
Yes, I know.
And then we'll talk about the Grey Cup.
Yes. Oh, I want to have you on. I'd have you on every day. Listen, there's one thing I like about you. We started this lastly to say, hey, we don't really get along, but you and I get along. You know why I like you? Because even though you banged your head into telephone poles and everything like that,
no kidding.
You are level-headed. Like, you get the game, and you don't just come on and say, well, the Riders suck and the Bombers are like, you get it. And listen, if Winnipeg win, Riders are playing with house money. Corey Mace walked into a burning building and put the fire out, and he's got his team here, and I think he's probably the coach of the year. So they're playing with house money. But I think that's why they're going to be playing a little bit freer. And Trevor Harris is the two best quarterbacks right now in the CFL. Trevor Harris, and whether you like him or not, Chad Kelly's on fire.
Oh, he's a magician.
Yes,
he should be sad. And you know what? I got to give him credit. Listen, I don't care about what happened before that's over. He did his time.
Yeah.
But he throws a ball.
Oh,
he's on point.
Walby.
That Pope guy that took off, and it was without breaking stride. Listen, Chad Kelly's a weird person. I mean, I watched him in an interview. He's got his camera going.
Yeah.
He's taking pictures of everybody. But you got to give the guy credit. He's hot as hell right now. And I'll say this, though, because I want to give a little shout out to my brother, Mark Mueller, who phoned me.
Okay.
Him and Larry phoned me last week.
Yeah.
Hey, are you going to come see us before the game? Of course I'm not going to come see you, jackass. But I love Mark Mueller. And he goes, yeah, or you can blow me off like you have for the last 18 times.
Listen,
awesome. I got to give Mark credit, too. A lot of people thought, here's a guy, I know he's Ryan Lancaster's grandkid. He's done a pretty good job of doing some stuff on that offense. So kudos to him. And that's just because he's my old DD driver. So
I love it. Hey, Walby, there's one more thing I like about you. Another reason why you're level-headed. I heard a couple of other radio stations talking about this. Wow, nobody wants Chad Kelly there. Can you imagine all the talk at the Grey Cup about Chad Kelly?
Yeah,
Can we just let him, man? He did his time. He got his 9 games. Can we just let him play football now? Do we all have to have all our shit tied up in a knot the whole time?
Yeah, well, you know what? We're a society is so worried about little things. And listen, I'm not saying it's a little thing, but like you said, you hit on the head. He paid his penalty. Whatever it is, it's done. I'm sure whoever's involved doesn't want to drag Dunn anymore either, because let it die now. Let us just go away. Let's concentrate, like you say, on the game, on the football, which is what we're here for. And he came back, and I think that he's getting stronger every week. I was blown away how well he played. I mean, Ottawa 10-0, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
They got the ball for like 25 minutes in the first half, and they're down by a point. And that's why I think Toronto's scary, but I'm not going to take anything away from your, sprinkle a little Jesus. Yeah. Sprinkle a little Jesus in Montreal. Yeah. That Fajardo guy, man, he's not bad, brother.
That's the only thing. That's the only reason. That's one of the main reasons I want the Riders to win, because Cody Fajardo has never played the Riders since he's left. He has never faced the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Oh, I did not know that. That's
not one time. So wouldn't that be something in a Grey Cup? That would be something.
Oh, yeah. And they got they got a chance too, because they got a great defense. Sankey and the boys up there.
Yeah.
They're missing one guy that I really like, and it's Mustafa. He's a defensive tackle, and he's hurt. That hurts him.
It does.
But I'm going to watch this other guy. Sorry to talk about line stuff, but I was watching Cody. I like to listen to Corey Mason. He's talking about that Caleb Saunders.
Yes. Sanders. Did you see that play he made the other day?
I didn't see it, but he talked about it. He goes, he's so fast, so quick, and that's when he sacked Vernon Adams, right?
Yes. Came off a double team and ran 30 yards east and west to make a quarterback sack by the Lions bench.
Speaking of Vernon, you think he's going to be in Calgary next year? He's
gone,
buddy.
He'll be done. Yeah, but okay. But let's just pause it here. Your old buddy Matt Dunnigan was on my show, and he said, "Listen, before we throw dirt on Jake Mayer, he's had better stats this year than last year. Like, who are you replacing him? Who are you replacing him with? Right? Yeah, maybe Vernon Adams.
One of my pet peeves, though, and I know I could go on and on with you, is I don't like a coach being the general manager.
Nope.
I don't like that, and I think that they should have took that away from Dave. And I know Dave is a great guy, but Dave should just concentrate on coaching, not being a GM as well. Mm-hmm. And I think they'd be better. And they get rid of the guy that I think is one of the best special team coaches in the history of the CFL, which is like, I'm mind-boggled by that. and he was assistant head coach.
I don't get it.
So there must be something behind the doors that's going on, which I don't know about. But anyway, that's just my rant around the league, as we call it.
Okay, so we're going to check next week and see who is right and who is wrong, and if I just shut my mouth off for nothing.
No, you'll be. I like what you're saying there, Michael, and I tell you what, you know what, we'll put a couple cold beers on it.
Okay, next time we're together, I'll buy a couple cold beers.
All right,
All right, Paul Woldu, who's the sponsor of this podcast at Royal LePage, getting the real estate game, 306-502-5355. And how is that game going? All right, Paul Woldu, who's the sponsor of this podcast at Royal LePage, getting the real estate game, 306-502-5355. And how is that game going, my friend, real estate?
Game is good. It's a steady grind. I'll tell you that much. You know, going into a slower time of the year, but you just pick up the phone more and you keep plugging away. But it's been good, man. I got no complaints.
Last time you were on, you said your boy was going for a hernia surgery. How did that go?
It went well. It went really good. Actually, that was Monday. Monday he went in and I got him all sealed up and ready to go. So he'll be off of sports. I mean, gosh, you wouldn't be able to tell the kid even had surgery. He's jumping around after. You tell the kid you can't. It's probably why we're in this situation, So, but no, he's good, man. Thanks for asking.
Hey, boy, that he's a young kid to have her. Isn't that odd? Abnormal?
Well, you know what? It is until you start talking to people who have, then you start realizing, oh, this person and that person, and literally, it's 7, 8 years old. So I always just assumed it was something down the road, but
well, at least he's on the road to recovery, man. Okay. Let's go to the Battle of the Breadbasket, the Hardy Cup. It's the 4th place Rams and the 3rd place Huskies. Canada West, always wild right till the end.
Well, I mean, especially this year. I mean, I haven't seen it like this. I mean, going back to when I was a player 20 years ago. I mean, as you know, obviously your son playing with the Calgary Dinos. I mean, they lost the game, double overtime to us. They lost to Manitoba at home where that was a touchdown and that wasn't counted a touchdown. They lost to BC at home. But I mean, the margins and the comebacks and it was literally a coin flip every week. So, and it doesn't surprise us that we're in this situation.
Yeah, you got a resilient bunch. How did you keep it together? I was talking with Ryan Hall because we were doing our post-game show, and I forgot something back at home. I said, "What's the score?" He's like, "Oh, it's the UBC's up by 13." I said, "Oh, that's it. It's over." He goes, "No, it's not done." So talk about the resiliency to come back like that onside kick, all that stuff.
Yeah, you know what? It just goes to prove that. I mean, the game's not over till it's over, right? And you try to instill that. I mean, in your team, and that's kind of where it started for us. Going back, I think it was we were 1-3 at the time, and Alberta came in home, and then we were down 18 going into the 4th quarter, and then we come back and win, and we haven't lost a game since. So 5 in a row, being down, being up, being just trying to find a way to make sure you're level-headed and play until it's over. And I think that kind of galvanized everything. And now I think we're as confident as we've ever been. So it's good.
You're a 40-year-old dude, still in great shape. You haven't officially retired from the CFL. You're on the sidelines for a game like this. Your old hometown, Regina. You played for the Huskies. You're coaching the Huskies. Right. It's for the conference championship. How much do you want to put on a helmet or run out in the field and make a tackle?
It's funny you say that because usually not often, but this weekend, this would be the game. It's why you play, right? It's so meaningful. And then even some of the, I was at the Rider game 3 weeks ago, and not often do I ever feel like I want to go back out there and play, but I sit there and think to myself, depending on when you ask me, I might jump out there for a couple of series, but no, it's cool. It's fun. It's great. I mean, it's just great for the province. It's great for both cities, both teams, both universities. So it's going to be a good one.
And it's a rubber match. They beat you the first game. You hung on to the second game. What do you got to do to win this game, in your opinion?
We just got to be clean. I mean, they're tough. Like they're really good on defense. And then, offensively, I mean, I think their defense keeps them in the game, and offensively they're tough. They're tough in the box. They run the ball they run the ball pretty well, and they got receivers that catch the football. I mean, it might not be anybody that's super flashy, or it's not like you're playing against the Philpots every weekend, but they're just a good, well coached, tough football team. So
yeah, they're opportunistic on offense,
they
aren't
are.
they?
Oh yeah. You give them an inch, and it can hurt you. So, and like I said, that's no secret as to why the games have been so close between us, our two teams. And I feel like haven't really been able to run the ball against them. We've put 200 up on every team, but them they're really stout in the box. So it's we're gonna have to find a way to make plays.
Okay, usually in football in Canada, well, I'll just talk. It's actually in any football. It's whatever team is the hottest and gets the healthiest or can stay the healthiest at the end. You guys have gotten hot and healthy. The Rams, I can't really speak to their injuries. I think they've been pretty okay, and they've gotten hot here too. So, and we're seeing this in the CFL as we transition this talk over the Rough Riders. When could you go 8 games on a winless skid and still get a home playoff game? And they've been on a roll here, and then out east Toronto, the same type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, especially in the CFL, where we usually say that the season doesn't start till Labor Day, anyways, right? And normally you would say that out east because generally the teams aren't as strong, and it was flipped, where. We lost. Did we lose 7 in a row?
We were 0-7-1, yeah.
0-7-1, and then BC lost 6 in a row. Winnipeg was 0-4 to start the season, right? So it really is. It really is when you can get all your horses back and you're playing your best football, right? So that's what makes this game so great.
Hey, Paul, this might seem like a dumb question, but you've been in the playoffs. You were with the Riders when they were second. You've been with Montreal when they've been at the top of that division. Is it easier? Is it better to be the team that has played already and is rolling in? I know you have an extra game and you didn't have the rest and have that momentum. And because I believe football playoffs is the only real sport where you can take momentum from one game to the next because it's only one game a week, right? Like a game 2 of a hockey series, all of a sudden it flips and it's a totally different game in game 3. But I think it's different in football. So would you say the Riders in Toronto have the advantage going into these games, even though they're going into hostile environments? They're coming off of big wins.
Right. You know what? I do. I mean, I try to look back at it as a player. When I was in Montreal, of course, we'd win the division in week 12, week 13. And so it was always trying to find meaning in playing the rest of the games, right? Because we just wanted to get to the end, wanted to get to the bye week, and then start prepping for whoever we were playing, right? And then conversely, in 2013, obviously, we had to play BC at home, which was great, but then we had to go into Calgary, who had won the division, I think lost 2 games all year, and we were able to have our way with them. So it's not for certain or for true, but looking at the way the season has gone on both sides, I think both Toronto and Sask they're just rolling. They're rolling right now, and it's Sask goes and beats up on BC really, really badly, and then conversely this past weekend, BC throws the first punch and then they find a way to grind it out. So it's not just a lopsided back and forth where it's just high momentum and not so good. They're finding ways to win games. So, I mean, if I'm putting my money down, I think I'm probably put my money on both those teams.
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to get this comment from you because you coached him, you've played defensive back. Mm-hmm. For a lot of the year, I was like, I don't know if Nelson Lokombo is right at safety. And you said, well, because I mentioned that to you in an early episode, you said, give him some time. Yeah. And I had him on the show a little earlier here today. And he said, I wouldn't say it was uncomfortable, but I just needed reps. And that's kind of what you said. And I'm noticing the game slowing down for him the last 3 or 4 weeks.
100%. I mean, initially he was a pure cover guy. That's what he did, right? So to make that position change at the pro level, it's always going to take time. It's always going to be, there's just experience that you can't have without actually making the plays and making the mistakes and then learning from them, right? And I think the one thing about him that people don't really realize is, I mean, he's a legit cover guy. He can cover, and that's I think what makes him actually pretty special in that secondary is you can now go cover 0 and you can bring pressure and you don't have to worry about the liability at safety where he can come down and cover. And so that we knew, everybody knew he was going to be okay, but him just getting into position to make plays on long balls, I think is what has taken a really long time. And I think now it's really starting to slow down. He's getting a better feel of reading quarterbacks and not getting thrown off his radar. And it showed. And what better time than to make his first interception. So it's cool. Yeah. It's good to see.
just for storyline purposes, I'd love to see the Riders against Montreal because Cody Fajardo has never played the Riders since he left. That would be to me, that would be the spiciest matchup for the Grey Cup.
Talk about poetic justice. I mean, conversely, I also think a Toronto-Winnipeg rematch, obviously from like I said, would have been at Mosaic a couple of years ago, would be a good one too, right? So there's some good storylines. I think it'll line up pretty good either way with whatever rolls down.
Earlier in the week, I said I think Toronto handling Montreal. By handling, I said 8 points, but I think that one might be a close game. I really have the Riders. I had Chris Walby on earlier. I have the Riders by 10. I think the Riders are going to win this game.
I love it. I hope so. I hope it's not that close. I mean, I just think they're in a pretty good position where, like you said, they're playing hot. They're on a roll, and that's half the breath. And in the other segment of it, I spoke with Kyle Walters when we were playing at the University of Manitoba in week 1. He happened to be on the field, and we had a conversation. And he said they always felt like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were winning the division early. They were the juggernauts. They were expecting. They had this added pressure, he said, and it just didn't feel right. And he said, now it's different. He said they felt at that point in time that they had just won 3 or 4 after losing the first 4. And he said that the team's different. He said, they really feel like it's their year this year. So it'll be interesting. But like I said, if I'm betting on the Green guys.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I've mentioned this a couple of times this week. The Rough Riders were plus 26 in the giveaway takeaway, and in that first playoff game, they were 3-1 to their advantage, but they only got 7 points off of turnovers. If you're in Winnipeg, the toughest place to play in the CFL, you can't trade field goals in for those turnovers. You need touchdowns.
So, I mean, you said it first, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not play there 4 years ago, and
2021, and we had 5 turnovers and couldn't get it done. Yeah,
5 turnovers and couldn't capitalize. So you're right. It's going to take a perfect game. So, I mean, we've been so good on that plus-minus ratio, but they're going to really need to be able to run the ball and chew that clock down and get it out of Claris's hands first and foremost. And then they're going to have to be opportunistic on defense, and that's just what it is.
I know you're busy, so one more question for you, okay? You were on that 2013 team. Geroy Simon didn't do a lot during the regular season in terms of stats. He had about 600 yards, 500 yards. I think he had one big game in Hamilton. And in the playoffs, he had his only 2 Grey Cup touchdowns. And I look at AJ Ouellette, who was paid $160,000, didn't do much during the regular season, but they paid him for the playoffs, and he scored 2 big touchdowns. Do you see a little bit of Geroy and AJ? And just what did Geroy bring to the team that maybe we as media and fans didn't see in 2013?
There was a lot of things that Geroy brought. Obviously, number one, his leader. He is the GOAT. I mean, especially at that time. You can say what you want to say, but I mean, even for me as a kid, I was like, oh, God, that's Geroy Simon in our locker room. Like, I remember watching him when I was young, right? So, undisputedly, he was that guy. And more so, what it did for the rest of our team and our organization is the second we saw them signing guys like Geroy, we knew it was for real. We knew this was it. And, going back to, they had signed Diamond Ferry, who was a back-to-back Grey Cup champion, Jermaine McElveen, back-to-back Grey Cup champion, my former teammates. And so, like I said, it was go big or go home. And so, Geroy had brought that type of, I call it magic. He didn't practice on day 3, never did 101s. Like he was as much of a vet as I'd ever seen anybody ever get treated. But it was what it was meant to be because he showed up when he had to, and even just the leadership that he had with guys like, Corey Sheets, who was still a young buck at the time, phenomenal player, still making mistakes, just hauling in a lot of those guys, being that cushion for a guy like Doubles from a mentor standpoint. So I think he brought so much of that. And then looking at a guy like AJ now, I mean, what he brings to you on the field. Like I said, he's a Grey Cup champion already. He's won, and he really, that team. It sounds crazy, but it's like the whole community feeds off that guy. His energy, and so I think that's what he brings. And I think he even said it in his interview. He said, they paid me to be good in November, be great in November. So he's doing what he has to do. So.
Yeah. Lastly, I Geroy wouldn't tell me this. We used to do the dinners, the highways and the byways, and he finally admitted in the limousine when we were driving. But he went to Darian Durant. Darian told me this. He went to Darian Durant in that West semifinal and said, "Hey, if you got to, you use your legs. Like do what got you here." And what happened in the fourth quarter of that game. So that's that leadership you're talking about.
absolutely. And what, I mean, I just don't know if I've ever seen a better quarter of football, from anybody like I did Darian Durant at that time in the game, at that junction. And like I said, a guy like Jiro who'd been there, and there's something to be said about a guy who has been around, who's won Grey Cups, that, comes and whispers in your ear that it's time for you to do what you do. So it was cool.
And that's a good point. I've been racking my brain. Like, yes, it's a storied league. Okay.
Right.
But when you think about all the pressure, 09 didn't, what happened in 09, you were on the other side, thankfully for you. Yeah. 2010, once again, you were on the other side. Bad time in 11, and then 12, they were leading when he left the field, but against Calgary. But Darian Durant in 2013, can you remember a better playoff performance for a quarterback? I can't. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, single-handedly won a West semifinal for you guys and kept the home Grey Cup alive.
I had said this, I'd said this to Darian actually the night we won, and we had talked about it lots, and he'd always made comment about, oh, damn, Paul, he's like, as much as I love you, damn it, you took 2 rings from me. And, we had joked about that, and there was a bit of seriousness. And, I told him, I said, Doubles, I said, I mean, this is why it happened the way it happened. And I said, it's easy for me to say, but, looking back on it, I would have rather had you lose 2 Grey Cups, as much as it hurt, to win this one at home, as it would have been for you to potentially win 1 or even 2 of those and then lose the one at home, right? And he's like, man, I got goosebumps. And he's like, you're right, man, it happened the way it was supposed to happen. So, and he went through it. He went through it, man. He's a pretty quiet guy himself normally, but I mean, he had to hear it from a lot of people before he was able to make it a full circle moment and win. So.
Yeah, so one more for you. I'm going to slide it in. I asked Kyrie Zabear this in my post-game show. I got his answer. I'll get your answer. Does Trevor Harris, he's 1-2 as a backup with Toronto and then Ottawa, but does Trevor Harris need to win as a starting quarterback to be considered one of the all-time greats in the CFL?
Yes, absolutely. I think, and I think he has the ability to do it. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to winning championships. That's what you're remembered for, especially at that position. Because I mean, you impact the game, right? And so, to put him in that category of Burris and Calvillo and Mitchell and Doubles and Dickinson, and I mean the Fluties. I think to put him in that special company, I think he's gonna have to win one.
Well, we'll see how it shakes down with the Riders and the Bombers. Best of luck to you against the Rams, my friend, and thanks for all that you do for this podcast and just in general.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. And we'll chat next week.
And if you want to get a hold of Paul, 306-502-5355. It's Paul Woldu and his team over at Royal LePage. Thanks to Paul Woldu for joining me. Big game for his team this weekend. Huskies and the Rams, 1:00 kickoff, Griffith Stadium. Leibel Field, 6A Provincial High School Football Championship. Actually, Mosaic Stadium, sorry, not Leibel Field. 1:00 Saturday. Campbell Tartans going up against the St. Joe's Guardians. If you missed our interviews with the coaches from the last show we did on Wednesday, Chad Palmer of the St. Joe's Guardians and Kelly Adams of the Campbell Tartans, you can get it right here where you get this show. Just scroll back and all the old episodes are there. But if you just want the audio, you can get it in podcast form by searching Ballsy Uncut, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. CFL news, Brandon Alexander is going to start at safety for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so he is back to hard-hitting missile in the middle there. Trevor Reed is out for the Rough Riders, so Peter Godber is in at center. Logan Ferlin goes to right tackle. The left tackle's Trevon Tate. Zach Fry is the left guard there. So that's how the Riders will line up there. And, of course, they've got one of their big off-season signings, Ryan Sevier, as the 6th offensive lineman. So he comes in there. So the Riders getting healthy in the offensive line at the right time. So good news there for Saskatchewan Roughrider fans. Austin Mack, the receiver, who was big last year, left for the NFL, got cut when he couldn't crack the Atlanta Falcons lineup and got signed to a 4-year deal with the Als, but then got hurt, is a game time decision for the East Final. Alouettes and Argonauts, a 2:00 kickoff Central Standard Time here in Saskatchewan. And the Riders Bombers game is a 5:30 kickoff in Winnipeg Central Standard Time. That's Regina or Saskatchewan and Manitoba's time zone. And that game both games are sellouts, Winnipeg's and Montreal. So that's good news for the CFL. Also CFL news, the Grey Cup is going to Calgary in 2026. Now, that is an old stadium. I love where it's situated. I love the city of Calgary, but for a beautiful city like that likes to keep up with the Joneses, has that mentality. Man, they have the shittiest sports stadiums, like the shittiest sports stadiums. The Stampede area is shitty. The Saddle Dome's shitty. I know they're getting a new one. McMahon Stadium is it's well kept, but it's old. Like it's an old, well kept car, an old Delta 88, as it were. That thing was built in 103 days in 1960. Did you know that? Anyway, they better put a crap ton of money into that stadium for upgrades for the 2026 Grey Cup, or they'll be giving tickets away because that's not the best stadium to watch a game from. They got to upgrade the sound system. They've got 2 high, tall speakers at the scoreboard end. They got rid of that. They had the cables that kept that big circular speaker near the top of the stadium or above the stadium. I know Mike Lazecki, the ex-Ram and Rider kicker, CFL kicker, would try to punt the ball off the big speaker. I think he actually did it once in warm-ups. It was up there a long way. But anyway, the 2026 Grey Cup going to Calgary. The other thing is, and I get some of this too, because anybody that knows me knows I'm right of center. If I had a vote in the United States, I would have voted for Donald Trump. Yeah, call me a racist, misogynist, whatever. Anyway, but what I find funny is how, the despised one, Gretzky's a clown. Like, do we really hate somebody because of their political views? Are we really at that point now that if I like this guy and you like that guy, I'm a Nazi and that's it? You're done. I'm done. You're never going to talk to me again. Like, come on. Are we that stupid? If you're mad at Wayne Gretzky because he used to beat the hell out of your hockey team all the time and he couldn't stop him, and you want to go with the whole theory that he couldn't be hit, it was a league rule not to hit Gretzky, and that's why I didn't like Wayne. Great, that's fine. But you're not going to like Wayne Gretzky because of the fact that he went to a Donald Trump event, a private event on the night he was elected. Really? Oh, he's a turncoat. This guy helped Canada win Olympic gold medals in hockey when he built a couple of teams. This guy, if it wasn't for this guy, the NHL could be dead by now. Certainly wouldn't have all the TV deals they got. There wouldn't be a hockey in Florida, like Sunrise, where it's getting more popular now. I know for a while it wasn't. Tampa, where it's been popular because they've been winning and been a pretty good team since they've been in the league for the most part. Dallas now. I know a couple of them aren't doing as great, but we wouldn't have hockey now in Utah if it wasn't for Gretzky, because it wouldn't have gone to Arizona and Bettman wouldn't try to keep it there as long as he did. Just a great ambassador. There's been no better ambassador for a sport than Wayne Gretzky, in my opinion. And so just because he likes Donald Trump, you're going to hate him. I find that so childish and ridiculous. Now, I don't like Taylor Swift, but it's not because she doesn't like Donald Trump and endorse Kamala Harris. I just don't like her. And she's going to get rich off this thing. She had another man, Donald Trump, break her heart. So she'll be able to write 2 or 3 more albums off of the Republicans' ass kicking at the polls. We're going to wrap the show up now with our buddy Andy McNamara. This is a segment we call Bourbon and Betting, as we talk a little NFL here. By the way, tomorrow, following the Western Final and the Eastern Final, we'll break down those 2 games and get you set for the Grey Cup in BC. It'll be myself and the Dirty Bird. That's right. Kai Riese-Bear will join me. Well, the Dirty Bird was the Alouettes. The Angry Bird. I called him Dirty Bird because he used to play on the edge. The Angry Bird, Kai Riese-Bear, former Bengal, Blue Bomber, Tiger Cat, Red, Black, and Renegade, and you remember him mostly probably from his time in Montreal. And now you remember him from being a regular on the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show. We will talk to you after the game and, break it down for you. That is following the Western final, the Riders and the Bombers. So probably about 8:40-ish, I'm thinking. 8:45 will be on the air. Want to thank a few more of my sponsors here, including Gerhardt Studios. We had our post-game show from the studios last week, and we were doing a Grey Cup party down there, invite-only Grey Cup party, and we'll be coming to you live once again from Gerhardt Studios following the Grey Cup game. So thanks to Dean and Nicole getting on board. They added Eric Cox, who does a great job, Rylan, doing some of my social media posts. Thanks to everybody over there. Also, Kevin Payson at Payson Insurance Services, former Ram and Western Mustang D lineman. He also coached at Miller, helping them to a number of provincial championships. He works with families and small to medium businesses, helping to maximize their financial security through investments and insurance products. Also consults on employee benefit plans and helps with your retirement, estate, and succession planning. Check out Payson Insurance Services. Somebody's got to pay the bills when you're gone. Make sure your family is taken care of and have it all done so that when you pass away, there's no fighting and nobody is clueless with regards to that. All right. Let's get to Andy McNamara. He's back this week. Well, we had him on the start of the week before, and then we usually get you on Fridays, but I didn't have you on, and there was a method to my madness, Andy McNamara, as we kick off Bourbon and Betting here. Great segment. People are actually inquiring about sponsoring, so that'll be good. We'll check it out. There you go. But here we go.
Come on in.
So let's talk about this. There was a method to my madness because I wanted to see how the Brownies and Chargers game went. So if I could rub it in after, so I'm rubbing it in. The Chargers dominated the Brownies.
Man, you know what? I am very excited for you as a Chargers fan. I think they'll make the playoffs this year, but I'm more thinking of in the future. This team, seeing them play the Browns up close, super well coached, and the combo of, see, the good Lord is agreeing with me. The light is shining on me. See? If it was about the Browns, it'd be a red light coming up from underneath. But the thing is, what I think the brilliance of what Harbaugh did is you had Herbert with the high ankle. So you worked in the ground game. You developed a tough, hard-nosed, cold weather type of personality out west. Then Herbert's getting better. Now you can start slinging it. And you're getting a little bit healthier. The defense is sensational. You have all the pieces right there. Imagine you add a free agent weapon. Imagine a couple nice draft pieces. This Chargers team's ready to cook. So, look, Browns, they stink. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but your Chargers are on the right path, man.
I'm going to say something. I put the tweet out yesterday, and it got like 10,000 views in like 2 minutes. So it's amazing what takes off at times. Yeah. Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the NFL. I like him better than Justin Jefferson. He's the best receiver after the catch. 11 for 264 and 3 touchdowns yesterday against what isn't as strong a Ravens defense as in the past, especially in the linebacking core. But I think he's better than Justin Jefferson. I think he's the best. Look at God came out again. Oh,
yeah, he agrees with you. Yeah. It's interesting because the Joe Burrow Chase combo, when both are healthy and clicking, seems unstoppable. I give a slight edge to Justin Jefferson just based overall on talent and what he can do with a lesser quarterback. Remember, Justin Jefferson's doing what he's doing with Sam Darnold. But if in any case, you can do a 1A, 1B in either direction. Those are two super talented players, and you see when they're cooking. But, man, and that Ravens secondary is no good. The Browns beat them. Like, they let it, that secondary the Ravens can be had. That's going to be painful in the playoffs at some point for them. But that Jamar Chase, you talk about fantasy football, you got him on your team. Ballsy, he got almost 60 fantasy points. He's winning people's weeks right now on Thursday night.
Whenever I see something like that, I always go back to, and I actually YouTubed it very early this morning. Willie Flipper Anderson, you weren't alive, but back in 1989, it was on Grey Cup. I watched the Riders beat the Tiger Cats.
I was alive. I'm 81.
Okay. But you weren't really.
I wouldn't have paid attention to it.
You certainly weren't into NFL fantasy then, because there was none. But Check about this guy's numbers. I remember watching the 89 Grey Cup Riders Hamilton, and then I shut it off and turned it on to ESPN Sunday Night Football with Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann, the former Argo and Washington quarterback. And Willie Flipper Anderson of the Rams had 336 yards receiving, which is still an NFL record against the Saints. Yeah.
I can honestly say I've never heard of Willie Flipper Anderson. For some reason, in my mind's eye, I remember watching that 89 Rough Riders Hamilton Grey Cup. I would have been 8, and I have no idea. I'm not a fan of either team. I have no idea why that sticks in my head so much, but I remember that for some reason.
Still the greatest Grey Cup game of all time. Yeah. They say 43-40, and then I flipped it onto that. It was a day to remember for me as a young football fan. Okay, before we get to anything else, we call this bourbon and betting. So you're a bourbon connoisseur. You got your left shoulder up there on the top. You got that to prove it. You wrote a test and everything. And now you got a shirt. Show me the shirt, bro.
Executive Certified Bourbon Steward from Moonshine University. Yes, that's a real thing, people, with the Stave and Thief Society. So in August, I was in Louisville, Kentucky to write that test, do the day course. And they had something called the Urban Bourbon Trail. There's the Bourbon Trail. It's a separate story. But the Urban Bourbon one, you got on your phone a passport. You go around, you check in, you get different discounts, try different places. And if you complete it, which I did, they send you Louisville Bourbon City with that on the back. It's a map, Urban Bourbon Trail. Follow me. I'll be back soon. The outline of Kentucky, of Louisville there. Just a great little shirt. And that's just something. I love Louisville. Nice little tiny downtown. The bourbon of the day, my friend, is actually a whiskey, chocolate and peanut butter whiskey, Magic Rabbit, from my friends at Cleveland Whiskey, my people there. This is a great Halloween post into the fall. You mix it, guys, with some root beer and ice. Sensational, Ballsy.
Magic Rabbit. Magic Rabbit. Okay,
Cleveland Whiskey.
Hold that up again. Hold that up again.
Look at that.
That was obviously full before the Chargers-Browns game.
It has been sampled. Yes. I needed something sweet. It was only sour, that Browns Chargers. And now I have to sit on that for a week because the Browns are at the bye and sit on that stink.
Yeah, Chargers get the lowly Titans, so they should beat them. Okay, before we get to your parlay, you got a 5-legger. I've got some mid-season predictions, okay?
Okay.
Now, we watched Lamar Jackson yesterday, and he's a great individual quarterback, and everybody's picking him for his 3rd MVP. If there's any justice in this world, Jared Goff's the MVP. I picked him as the MVP of the league before the season started. I put a 10 spot down on him. And so I'm sticking with that. I think Jared Goff's the MVP of the league.
Do you remember what odds you got on him? You probably got decent odds.
Yeah, decent odds. I think I win like 250 or something like that.
Okay, that's pretty good. Look, Lions are 7-1. They've been sensational. I still don't think he gets the respect he deserves, but you have to consider him at least in the conversation with Lamar. Patrick Mahomes, I don't think is it, based on his numbers. Now, the Chiefs are winning, but Patrick Mahomes this year, no. I think you put Josh Allen there. I think as well, my rookie of the year that I got a plus 650 right after the draft, Jaden Daniels, Ballsy, has to be considered a dual possibility winner of rookie of the year and MVP. Look what he's done with the lowly Commanders, who were nothing. They're leading the division. Right now, boy, you put Jaden Daniels right up there with any of them. But I like your Jared Goff pick, too. Look, he's dominating. He's been great.
It'll probably be Lamar Jackson, but I'm sticking with it, riding with my money. I do think, though, the second half MVP kind of ties into something you said earlier. The second half MVP of the NFL season will be Justin Herbert.
Ooh, that could be. See, the Lord likes that one, too. Look at that.
Yeah, see?
Oh, God. Lightning bolts, baby. Yeah. Look, the fact is, like I said, Justin Herbert, high ankle sprain, battled through, worked him through. Now he's clicking. Now you're getting that. And because the run game's been established, defenses have to respect it, and that lets them light him up. Vlad McConkey, Quentin Johnson's back and healthy. I'm not a Chargers fan, but I'm kind of like excited of like, what happens when they get another wide receiver?
But the thing I don't like is their O-line, though, is supposed to be great. They got absolutely mollywopped by the Browns. Like, they're lucky. They gave up 6. Yeah, they gave up 6 sacks in the first half. They're lucky Herbert made it out of that game, to be honest with you.
You know what was dumb decision-making by the Chargers? And Myles Garrett, I actually just watched an Instagram video. They had him mic'd up, and he said, they're going to single me? I'm going to have a me day. That's what he said, and he got 3 sacks. listen, man, whoever the offensive line could, you don't single Myles Garrett, you fool, against a rookie left tackle. And Joe Alt's damn good, but Myles Garrett feasts, and that's another frustrating part. You let that day of Myles Garrett go to the wayside off of some broken miscommunication in the secondary. Terrible.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, another prediction I have at midseason here. I think that this kind of ties into the Browns too, because Brandon Aubrey of the Cowboys missed a 66-yard field goal against Cleveland, but it was called back because he made it, but there was a penalty, so it was taken off the board.
Oh,
I think because of their pathetic offense and the way it's going in Dallas, they're going to get the midfield at some point and go, fuck it, let's try a field goal. And I bet you he sets a record, 66, 67, 68-yard field goal. Like, he will smash the record this year. That's a prediction.
Wow. Why not give him a shot, right? Like, look, if the Cowboys lose to the Eagles this week, it's over. It's probably still over, but it's definitely over if you're 3-5. I love that. At times, it's like, why be... Like, when the game's over the season, like, what the hell? You know, it gives a boost. It's fun for the team. Give a little boost up, right? Have him go for it. That'd be Look, he's got the leg for it. We're going to see, I wonder how over the next decade, 15 years, how crazy the distances will get. One day we'll see a 70-yarder.
Well, the kicker for the guy who came over from the UFL from the Michigan team is kicks for the Lions, the rookie guy. I forget his name. It's eluding me. But anyway, Dan Campbell said... there a couple Monday nights ago at Ford Field, we were trying to get him in position to try a 70-yarder at the end of the half. So, they think he could make it. So I think at some point that will. I think 60 to 60. You know, when 50 was a big deal, we talked about this before. Yeah, when we were talking before about 50 being a big deal, now it seems pretty. Oh, he made a 52-yarder. Before it was like, he made a 52-yarder.
Yeah.
Now I think we could be around 60, 61, 62, where it's not that big a deal.
That's crazy. And that really changes the dynamic of a game if you can get that consistently. Right?
100%.
It's wild. It would be absolutely wild. I like that prediction. Why not? Let's do it. Go for it.
Another prediction. Now, the first part of this prediction is not going to be wild. Maybe even the second part won't be. Doug Peterson will be fired at the end of the year in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And because he's already half retired, Bill Belichick will be the coach because he loves Florida, and Khan will just give him the whole thing because he likes to have total control.
That's interesting. Mac Jones, by the way, starting this week, folks. Oof.
Yeah.
If you had any thoughts on betting on Jacksonville, do not do that. That is a guaranteed loss. That is money in the bank. That's interesting because if Belichick wants to get back, which he'll play his hands close to his vest, whatever his cards, but he's got to. He's a historian of the game. He's so close to the overall record. He wants to get back in there. Jacksonville, and you're right, it has to be the right situation. You need to have an owner. That's why Dallas makes no sense. He's not going to Dallas. Dallas is going to have a vacancy too. He's not going to Dallas because Jerry Jones meddles. So the Khan family lets you do your own thing. That makes a lot of sense. Do the Giants maybe, kind of go full circle? He won Super Bowls.
This is my next prediction. Because he is one of those Eastern Seaboard guys. I say the Jets, they finished the back half of the season 6-3, which would put them at 8-9. They dug themselves too much of a hole. Now they have to decide whether they run it back with Aaron and his buddy Diva Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
What if Bill Belichick comes in there and takes over that job?
Would they do it after, of course, the historic stiff that Belichick did to them? With it, I only think that doesn't happen because it's in division with the Patriots. So I think that'd be hilarious. I really want that to happen.
You don't think Bill would want to get in division and stick it to Robert Kraft? I think those boys hate each other now.
I don't know. I guess it really depends on that relationship right now. Does he want to stick it? Is there that respect? Was there any agreement before? I don't know. It would be very interesting, though. Would they have him back? Would he be booed at first? Because remember, they stiffed him. That would be really interesting. I think that, if they fire Daboll, which I think could go either way right now. If they do, he could go right back there. Won Super Bowls as a DC. You're still in New York, but you're on the Giants side. Be very interesting for him. And don't forget, Mike Vrabel's going to be floating around too.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers and a 7-year playoff drought, and I know you hate to hear it, but I think they might win at least one. They're not winning a Super Bowl, but I could see them winning one playoff game.
I believe it depends who wins that division. How are my two most hated teams doing so good? Look, the
Yeah.
Steelers, this last half of their schedule is a barn burner, man. That is a gauntlet. You look,
Yes.
Steelers come out of that and they're floating and they win that division, I'll be with you. I'm just a little skeptical. I think, as usual, their defense is tough. They're always tough to play. They're always well coached. Is Russell Wilson the guy to do it, to make that little run? He could, but I'm going to have to see it first. I think Pittsburgh gets in probably as a wild card. But right now, I got to see how they finish against tougher teams.
Okay, and my last prediction is for the Super Bowl. You said it right at the start. How do you pick against the Chiefs? So I think this isn't a big it's not a real revelation, but I got Detroit versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and Detroit wins.
Oh boy, leaving my poor Browns the only team to not be to a Super Bowl. There you go. That you know what? That would be just apropos for this season, wouldn't it? Let's do that. Let's
Who do
stick
you got?
another needle.
Who do you got for a Super Bowl right now?
I just don't know how you can go against the Chiefs to get there. I just don't know how you can do it. Like the sexy thing would be say, oh, maybe Buffalo can come. Look, let's take the old Ric Flair saying, Ballsy. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and no one can beat the men in Kansas City right now. It just hasn't been done. You can't do it. They went in so many different ways. So I'll say KC gets there. Look, the NFC is fascinating. Certainly you look at Detroit. Minnesota's a bit of a paper tiger, I think, with Sam Darnold. Nice story. You go through the rest of it. Commanders, not yet. Great with the rookie, not quite there. I believe you could see Philadelphia getting hot right now. You beat Dallas, they could be on the rise, and I think they already are. So I would say for me, it's between Philadelphia and Detroit. I think the Eagles maybe get one over in the NFC Championship and head back to the Super Bowl.
And do they win it this time to avenge that loss from a couple of years ago?
Oh, boy. You know what? I hope so. I think that would be just interesting instead of the Chiefs doing it again. But again, I will not bet. Like, Ballsy, we talked about it last year. We bet against the Chiefs or thought this could happen. Patrick Mahomes has never won on the road. He did.
Yeah.
But,
he's got no receivers. He's got no receivers. He can't do anything.
They're going to have to run the game. They do. They literally checked all the boxes. There is nothing you can complain about. There is nothing negative you can say. They've done it in every possible different way. So how the hell can I predict against them? I can't do it until it's done.
Bourbon and betting, we got you on here. I gave my stuff. Let's get to you, bro, and your 5-leg parlay for Sunday's game.
Parlay partay, my man. And we're looking at a 5-legger. Let's go. So, speaking of the Chiefs, they are hosting the Denver Broncos. 7.5-point favorites. In division game, Broncos have been surprisingly well. The defense has been surprisingly tough. I think the Chiefs win, but I have the Broncos covering that 7.5. That touchdown, that's too high for me. And the Chiefs aren't being prolific scoring-wise. So I take the Broncos to cover that 7.5. The Saints, we always know when there's a coaching change, you usually get that first bump. I'm not as bold to take them to beat the Falcons at home, but that 3.5, I think they do cover. The 3.5 gives you a better betting odds number anyway at -105, so I think that works out a little bit better. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
By the way, Kirk Cousins, comeback player of the year.
Ooh, let me think who else could be it.
Well, J.K. Dobbins.
Sam Darnold
would be one. Sam Darnold. Well, the only thing is, though, they changed the rules. You have to come back from an injury. You can't be like he was.
Oh, is it?
Yes, they changed the rules.
Is it now the Flacco rule? Is that
Yeah. So I think it's right now. Those would be the two guys, Cousins and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, interesting. So if it is that, if it is that rule, like you say, then I'll go with you on Cousins. I do think.
Anyways,
the Saints
get to your
cover,
thing.
I think
you said Buccaneers next.
Buccaneers hosting the 49ers, 6.5. Again, I think the 49ers should win, but it's at home. The Bucs receivers are totally banged up, but they're getting close enough. They've lost close games. So that 6.5 is too high for you. I'm taking the Bucs to cover that. Rams, 1.5-point favorites. Give me that -104 over the Dolphins. They got Tua back, but I think the Rams take it. And then Arizona Cardinals, money line, +108 over the New York Jets, who are traveling out there. The Cardinals they're out of sight, out of mind, because they're the Cardinals and no one really gives a crap about them. But they've been hot at home. They've won, I believe, 4 in a row. So I'm saying that's the 5th of the leg. You bet $10 on that. $280.76. Make you holla. Let's go.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Lastly, before we wrap up and before I get your details, like the CFL is a great league, and you've even said that,
sure.
A lot of family cheer for the Argos. But the NFL has about 7 or 8 elite guys on each roster. Like, it is the best league in the world. And you see a couple of plays every week. Like, how about that catch by DeMarco Robinson in overtime against the Seahawks, where he's fending off the defender in overtime, and Matthew Stafford, that old bag of bones, throws across his body and just makes it rain. What a play that was.
What a play. How about the Saquon Barkley? Looked like a glitch on Madden. I said
no,
both.
it's even worse. You couldn't do that on Madden.
You did. You're right. You can't do the reverse. It was like joystick spin. You can't do a reverse hurdle. You're right. It's a total like game malfunction. Reverse hurdle and go. Outrageous. You're right. There are just some amazing plays each week, and you're like, how the bleep did they do that? And Saquon's one of those guys.
By the way, McNamara, how the hell isn't the Giants GM fired? If you watched off-season Hard Knocks, the owner came in and said, I'll be sick to my stomach. I won't sleep at night if Saquon leaves and goes to Philadelphia. And the owner was, or the GM was clueless. Yeah, the GM was clueless. He goes, I don't think it's going to happen.
It's like, what a fool. I don't know how he still has a job right now. The owner came out and they gave a vote of confidence to GM and coach. We know that's worth absolutely nothing. I would get rid of that GM, man. Yeah. Brian Daboll, I still think is a good coach. I do. I think he's a good coach. I think he's had a rough hand here. You need to get rid of Daniel Jones and get a new quarterback. I'd keep Daboll. Dump that GM. He's a bum.
He is a bum. Okay, the sun is shining on you because you brighten social media, not only with the horse racing and stuff, but with your football. Where can they get your stuff, especially on NFL Sundays? We get to closer to kickoff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. 10 a.m. Eastern live on YouTube, The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, on X at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81. If you have fantasy football questions, betting questions, use hashtag AskAndy. Get them in there. We do the live chat right up for the first hour. So we're getting in real time. Injury updates, start sits, adjusting on the fly, making our parlay party bets, and having a lot of fun. So 10 a.m. Eastern, that's live. YouTube, The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. And like I said, on X, at SickPodBrowns, at AndyMC81, and Instagram, at AndyMCSports. And check out at My Railbirds. I got an awesome horse shit streeter video that's up right now, which is hilarious. So check that out.
Okay, I want to see that.
Really
lastly, since you did this and you brought it up, I'm going to close this with a Ric Flairism.
Oh, let's go. What do we got?
Diamonds are forever, and so is bourbon and betting.
Woo! Let's go! Woo!